our wonderful favorite, rebel, Cassian Andor, is coming back with season 2 of Andor. It looks like this will be leading up, spanning 4 years from Rogue One, the events of Rogue One.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be honest, uh, it's been a while since I've watched Andor because it's been a while since the show has come out.
Yes,
So
yes.
we're due for a rewatch, but season 2 is
Yeah,
coming.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like bugs me that you have to wait like 5 years in between each season. That's absolutely
Yeah.
absurd. But I am excited, and I kind of like Andor. To me, I forgot that it was even in connection with Rogue One. Like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't forget, but like I kind of forgot to connect the stories.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I forgot how different Cassian is by the time you get to Rogue One. So I'm very interested to start seeing that change because there is a true dedication to the cause by the time you get to Rogue One that he does not have at all in season 1 of
Yeah.
Andor.
Yes. And honestly, I miss Diego Luna.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel like Diego Luna should be in more.
He
Like
should.
I really I don't know how we have failed Diego Luna, but I feel like we should fix it.
Because, Hollywood loves to do the thing where it's like, oh, of course you could have your little, like non-white heartthrob, but
Mhm.
you can't have more than one. So,
Yeah.
like, they took Pedro Pascal, and then they're like, okay, that's enough.
Right. And which like also it's like I love Pedro Pascal. I think we can have multiple. But like if
Yes.
we could only have one, I feel like it was Diego Luna's turn. Okay.
Hmm.
He's been on my radar longer.
Like, listen, I need Benicio del Toro. I need Oscar Isaac. I need Pedro
Yes.
Pascal. I need Diego
Yes.
Luna. I need all
Mhm.
four of them in a diner together, like doing a buddy cop movie. That
Oh
is
my god.
what my
Good.
heart desires.
It would be so good. Yes, it would be so good. I'm
Yeah.
down. I would be in for it.
So I am very excited for season 2 of Andor because this just encourages me to go back and rewatch Andor because I also love Ben Mendelsohn playing a
Mhm.
villain, which he does phenomenally. And
Yes.
I'm really excited to see where the story unfolds from there because, the rebellion is rising and I want to see what happens with Cassian and like where his destiny lies. Like, what's next for him, really?
Yeah. What's next for like the whole rebellion?
Oh,
Because it's
yeah.
like, yeah, there's like a lot happening. There's like a huge gap here that like I feel like almost widened once we started watching season 1. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have all the elements, but just having a little bit of them even makes me like more like, how do we get from there to here? You know what I mean?
I 100% agree. And one thing that I did love about Andor is that the show came out during like this kind of procession of Star Wars spin-off shows where we had, Obi-Wan Kenobi show, we had Boba Fett, we had so many other shows, and the thing is that a lot of these Star Wars shows that kept coming out, although I enjoyed them and I liked them, you
Yeah.
know, I feel like there were some problems with some of the shows. Like Ahsoka, I really enjoyed. I love Rosario Dawson, but there will be times where I'll be watching the show and it feels like certain things are changing, certain things are adjusting, and
Yeah.
sometimes it feels like you announce a show like we're gonna have a spinoff for Ahsoka, like this is great, but of course you have to introduce the other characters and other subplots, and sometimes it felt like it took away from the main focus of the show, and we weren't really
Mhm.
getting what we wanted. Because when you see
Right.
Ahsoka show up in Mandalorian, it's like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
my girl. And then
Yeah,
she's
exactly.
getting her own show. It's like, that's my girl. She's getting her own show. And then you're watching it. It's like, this is not what I anticipated. This is not what I was
Right.
hoping for.
I think about the Book of Boba Fett when I
Hmm.
think about this problem, and it's like I came here for a Boba Fett show, but
Yeah.
because there's like 8 million Star Wars projects that you all want to tie together
Hmm.
very clearly, half of this Boba Fett show is the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to watch the Mandalorian, I would have just watched the Mandalorian, right? Like just do another season of the Mandalorian since y'all take 3 years to get to each season. You could have just done another season of Mandalorian if this is what I was gonna get. It's starting to make me annoyed. Like, it is cool to have this interconnected universe, but I need them to be a lot more hands off and like natural about it instead of like stuffing in as much other Star Wars property into each Star Wars show. You know what I mean?
I do want to say that I enjoyed The Mandalorian when it first came out because I am like a casual Star Wars fan where I've seen all the movies, but I haven't read the books, I haven't read the comics. Like, I'm not that deep in the lore, so I didn't know what the Mandalorians were. Like, I remember Boba Fett from the prequels, but like Mandalorians, I don't know what that is. So watching The Mandalorian was really cool, and then getting all these new shows is really great because having shows that are like dedicated to the universe that already exists to expand on like established characters so we can understand more about them and understand like their motivations, their lore, what brought them to where they are. That is enticing. That is interesting. But it can be disappointing when the story doesn't give you all that you were like hoping to see. You know what I mean?
Right. And yeah, and I think that's actually one of the strengths of Andor is that because it's a prequel to pretty much everything, it doesn't have to force in other storylines from other stuff. Like, you might drop an Easter egg to say, oh, this is where this starts, but you don't have to include so many different things or feel the need to. And a truly standalone Star Wars experience of Ahsoka is what I wanted.
Yeah.
Not what I got.
Because that's really what brings in your viewers. Like, of course you want to please the Star Wars fans who know a lot about the lore. But when it is really dependent on the lore and knowing who these people are and having to have previously watched these shows that have already been, like, out already, then it kind of deters people from really like wanting to get into it. But Andor does stand alone as a Star Wars story. It's not even just like a Star Wars story. It's just a story that's very relatable and people will enjoy and people will like. And you don't really have to be a Star Wars fan to have to watch Andor. You don't have to know who Luke and Leia are because they're not relevant to the story quite yet. What you need to know is that there's this guy Cassian. He just kind of wants to do his job and live his life, but there's a rebellion brewing and he has to decide whether or not he's going to take part in it or if he's just gonna keep living his life the way that he lives it. And that's something that I really enjoyed about Andor because it's something that really does stand apart from, you know, Obi-Wan Kenobi show and like Ahsoka. And I never wanted to like, it was hard because I liked the shows, but I didn't like it as much. But anytime you try to find any meaningful criticism about the shows, it's always overwrought with nerds being like, oh, Star Wars is so woke nowadays. Like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. You can't have like an actual decent conversation about Star Wars criticism. It's ridiculous because it's either that or you have people who are like constantly fighting those people, assuming that you're saying the same thing. Yes. So you can't like actually have real discussions on, you know, the issues of Star Wars. Which is why I never was like, I love Star Wars. I'm never making Star Wars content on anything. I'm good. I love it to know. I love it enough to know not to.
Right. Yes. But I am very excited for Andor season 2. I am a little nervous because oftentimes with shows go away for a while and they come back. Sometimes the quality is not the same. You know, it just happens. But we're holding out hope that season 2 is better than season 1 because that's what we want to see.
Yeah, improvements, build up on it. Yeah.
Yes.